So I wanted to film a shorter video on some of this PB&J chert, the coastal plains chert that I collect. This is a nodule of just your typical old coastal plains chert. It's going to have some cortex issues. It's got fossils galore. It's got seams and everything. But this shows you, it's very similar to coral as well, that you have a lot of nastiness here, but a good layer of really nice material here. And so the reason why you don't see a ton of these particular points is because 90% of the rock, most of the time, is not going to be this high quality layer here. But you kind of got to spall it out so that you can try to run some of the lines like this line here and hope that you can still get a good spall. So let's see what we get here. Hopefully this will fly off the back end, is what I'm hoping. Yep, there we go. And so you see what's left is just a bunch of cruddy stuff. Really nothing crazier to write home about. You can heat it up and it'll be okay, but it won't be like really, really good. Let me see if I can grab this spall we just hit off here. There we go. All right, so there's the back face of it, but you'll notice there's that really good layer we're seeking to preserve. And so if I take a bopper, like this copper bopper here, and I'll whittle down all the nasty area, see just how kind of cruddy, and you can see the shadows that it makes. Now it does nap, but it very ineffectively, not very predictably either. And also you kind of have a problem with heating whenever you're trying to heat it perfectly. When you have really high quality stuff up next to really low quality stuff. And so that can become a problem because you'll want to heat it higher in one area, lower in another, and the imbalance can cause some problems. Now there's still a little seam here that we just got to peel off. And of course, now we're getting down to some of the better stuff. Okay, that didn't dry because of a little seam there, but let's go with that one. And you can see there's our PB&J. So that's kind of what we're working towards there. And we like to save all these flakes if we can. Now, let me see here. I think I want to get this bopper here because we want to thin this out, but also keep it as close as we can to the goodie so that we can keep still keep a point within this big biface here. And so we're getting a few flakes, but again, we're about to leave that good section, so I need to flip it around very quickly and try to, that's gonna pop off anyways, and try to reduce the backside. Now, when I talk about conservation in a lot of my videos, this is kind of where it began for me, is trying to conserve the good material that I have without, wasting it. Or like, oh, I can't get to it, or oh, it's just not going to work. Trying to really extract as much as I can of the good out of a piece and trying to make it worth it. So again, not really shooting flakes as much as I am just kind of biting it. And really what we need to do is try to get rid of all this nastiness. And this isn't a good platform. This could be really bad. Yeah. So you can see it just doesn't want to flake very well. So you have to come up with plans to try to most effectively get off all this crud. And a lot of times you have to work the good material to get to the bad. Like that there. And again, we still don't have an easy way to clear everything off. So it just takes some time and persistence. And eventually, things start to work out. That's okay enough, but again, I think anybody can tell the difference between the two pieces here. One is much cleaner, and the other is just kind of filled with holes and pores. And so this is the process that I have to go through with a lot of the Alabama coastal. It doesn't just come where every spall, like, well, this particular piece of coral, you got to work for it. And it's something that not a lot of people are, I guess, familiar with or are aware of. And it's like that with other materials, but coastal, particularly Alabama coastal, or you could just call it colorful coastal, you just gotta work more for your points. That's just the way it is. But in the end, the hope is that it'll be worth it. So again, I try to save all these little flakes, because each one can technically be, see, worse on this side. This one's not even worth saving. But now we're getting down to a little bit smoother material. Already a little seam there that's not fantastic to have in the piece. But just trying to remove the nastiness, and the flakes get a little easier to take off as you go along. And the way that I'm viewing this is, my tip is usually the finest, thinnest, the triangle, thicker here, very minute here. I'd rather have the minute area be the rough stuff than have the base, big thick area, be the rough stuff. So I want this to be my base, but again, only if it'll allow it, because I do see a seam running through here, which is kind of tragic. Well, it's very tragic. Looks like it keeps going, but it gets a little better, so maybe it's not as bad. I hope not. But usually with coastal chert that's similar to this, I'll either leave it alone and make a raw Clovis or boggy branch or something. But most of the time I'll probably heat it up and get it nice and glassy, and that way the PB&J really shines. Now you'll notice the PB&J was really where the high quality stuff is. And once you get out of that high quality stuff, it just turns to, this is still decent, but it's not what it was. And so that's why you don't see a lot of it, because every rock is different. And this just came from a certain section that my buddy Lewis found. And it was unearthed at a particular construction site. And now they got buildings over it. They're doing no more construction anymore. So, in other words, this particular resource is gone. So I'm trying to get the best out of the color is, the best we can do. There we go. Now we're getting down to it. Anyways, just a short little video. Just kind of showing you kind of the way I would approach something like this. And that one's kind of not worth it, but also kind of showing you the main boulder of how just kind of iffy it is. I'm gonna put these flakes to the side, and maybe for an extra minute I'll show you what it's like to get through this and to see if we can't get an extra little itty bitty flake or something. There is potential here, but it doesn't continue, especially because of that seam and this seam that wraps. So really the best PB&J option we have is just, well, you just don't have much. So we'll just break it at that seam there. And there's only so much you can do, but you can see how pretty and how good the potential is. But we got a seam running through it, which kind of reminds me of jasper. And it's possible we can get something out of this. So of course we'll set it to the side in hopes that we can. But also very doubtful we can get anything else, because very soon, very quickly, you reach that cruddy area. And again, that's just kind of part of how this stuff goes. You run the seams. Now I still have some decent pieces of the PB&J, but I kind of keep them to the side to work for a rainy day. Yeah, this is just, there's so many seams here. Yep. So we'll just call it there. Hopefully you guys maybe learned a little bit, if not just had fun watching and seeing the process. But this is junk to me, so I'm gonna this will go in my junk pile. But that's just how it goes. You reduce the stuff that you don't need and cast it away. Then the stuff that you can get off of it, man, what a cool point you can make. So I have made some points off of this. If you want to see them, just check. I'm sure I have a video out there somewhere. But anyways, take care. Thanks for watching. Catch you on another one. Peace.